Hi there, and I welcome you all to our brand new React.js course that is React for Everyone. I am Manal Bhattacharya and I will be taking you throughout this course. In this course, we'll explore React from the very scratch, right? So we'll see React from 0 to 1. Yes, that's right. So basically, as this is going to be an introductory lecture, so in this lecture, what I will do is I'll take you through what actually is React, what are the features of React, and our course curriculum, that what we are going to learn throughout this whole course, right? So let's get started. Alright, so these are the topics that we have for this course. What is React, why to use React, features of React, and at the end, we'll be talking about our course curriculum. So just some basic definitions of React. What is React? Right? So now if you have stumbled upon this course, you now must be knowing that what is React, then only you have come to this course, right? But let me just tell you what actually React is. So React.js is a framework, right? Or we should not call it a framework. Some websites will call it a framework, but it is actually a library, right? Which is developed by Facebook, and it was developed to build some responsive and dynamic UIs and basically make the performance of those UI a little efficient, right? That we'll see that how we can make the UI performance efficient and all of these things. There are so many ways in React to do that. We'll see about all of that, right? So back in 2011, Facebook actually created React, and Jordan Walk was one of the Facebook software engineers who actually created React, who led the team which created React, right? And basically just a normal trivia, right? React was first used in Facebook's newsfeed. Right? That was the first implementation of React. Anyway, let's move forward. Now, we'll talk about why to use React. Right? You can read all of those definitions in the previous slide. I actually do not believe in reading definitions and all. Right? So why to use React? This is going to be a very important thing. And throughout this whole course, we'll be actually talking about these 7 points that you see in your screen right now. Right? First thing, component based architecture. Very important. That what is this architecture? What are components, right? This is one very useful feature of React, right? Component based architecture. So as we'll move forward, we'll actually talk about this particular architecture. What are components and what are component architecture. Then second thing that React gives us is virtual DOM. So if you are familiar with the DOM, that is your document object model, if you have used Vanilla.js, HTML, CSS also, you will be familiar with the DOM, right? But React gives you something known as virtual DOM, and we'll see how virtual DOM actually works and how it actually makes the performance efficient, right? Third, declarative syntax. If you have seen my JavaScript course, there I've actually discussed about declarative syntax. Declarative syntax is very shorthand syntax. You will not have to write lengthy code, right? You can get your job done by just writing some small amount of code. Right? Fourth thing, reusability. As I was talking about component-based architecture, these components that we are going to create can actually be reused, right? So we'll be actually talking about the fourth point as well in our course, right? This term will be used very oftenly throughout our course. Reusability, components, all of these things, right? So if you see all of these points right now and you're not able to understand, don't worry, we'll be discussing all of these things in our course only. We have a large ecosystem. So large ecosystem means basically, if you have seen my Node.js course as well, so Node.js had the support of NPM. Similarly, we can make use of NPM and Yarn in React as well. We can actually integrate our React app with Node.js as a backend or basically a server side, and we can do all of these things. So in React also we have a very large ecosystem. Sixth one, strong community support. Yes. So when Facebook actually created React in 2011, so React performed so well, right? It actually performed so well. So they actually made it public in 2013, and then React was open sourced. And by 2013, so many software developers, so many people in the software industry have started using React, so that now it has a very large community support, right? So whenever you will feel stuck in React, you can just go and you can Google out your problem and somebody would have answered that question already, right? So this is how big community support you will get for React, and it is very popular. Seventh, the most important point, backed by Facebook. So we all know that how big of a giant Facebook is, and React is actually backed by Facebook, and they keep on doing so many developments in React. Right now the current version that we are using is React 18, so we'll be also talking about some groundbreaking features of React 18 in our course as well, right? So let's move forward. So these are all the features, right? If you're not able to understand, we'll be going through them one by one in our course, right? Don't worry. All right, great. So now let's actually talk about our course outline. That what are all the things that we are going to do in this React course. So first is Introduction to React. These are all the modules that we are going to have. Introduction to React. So in Introduction to React, we'll be actually talking about how to set up your React application with CRA as well as Vite, right? So there are two ways now in which you can set up your React application: Create React App and Vite. We'll be talking about all of them, but before that also, before moving to Vite and CRA, we'll be actually talking about CDN, how to actually set up your React app with using CDN. Just a CDN link, right? So there we'll also talk about Babel, Webpack, all of these things, right? So we'll not directly jump into Create React App and Vite. We'll actually go from the very basics of React, right? Then component architecture. As I was talking about the component architecture, so how to create components, how to reuse them, how to manage components, state, props, all of these things, right? There are these topics that we'll discuss in the second module, that is your component architecture. Then we'll move to list and forms. Yes, so there are so many ways in which you can actually work around with lists and form in React. We'll be seeing all of them: how to render a list, how to use higher order functions, how to actually create forms, how to do submit form, all of these things, right? Then we have our fourth module, that is basically our project. So from our fourth module, we'll be starting with our movies project. So we'll be creating an IMDb like project, basically an IMDb clone, which will show you different movies, right? And then fifth point is getting real-time data from an API. So we'll be using an external API which will actually fetch some movie data for us, and we'll be using that API, right? And we'll see how you can use Axios, how you can use fetch method to actually get some data from the API. Sixth one is adding features to the project. We'll be adding so many features to our project. We'll be creating our watch list. We'll be actually implementing searching, sorting, filtering, and also local storage. Then we'll finish our complete project and we'll deploy it to Netlify. So now you'll have a deployed application, right? Feel free to show that off. Then eighth module will be prop drilling and context API. So this is a very fundamental topic of React. Prop drilling and context API, very oftenly asked in interviews and very useful feature, right? So we'll be talking about context API, and prop drilling is actually a problem, right? That we'll see what prop drilling is and how context API solves that. So that is going to be our eighth module. Then we are going to talk about the coolest hooks of React. Yes, when we'll build our project, there will be so many hooks that we will actually use, but there will be some hooks that we will not be using, but they're generally asked in the interviews, and you should have an idea about those hooks as well. So in the ninth module, we'll be talking about those hooks: use memo, use ref, use transition, all of these things. Then the last module is React interview preparation. So in interview prep module, we'll be talking about all of those questions, all of those topics that are generally asked in the interviews, so that whenever you will give an interview of React, you'll be familiar with all of these topics beforehand. So here we'll talk about code splitting, lazy loading, right? And there are some more optimizing techniques as well in React. We'll be talking all of them there. Right? So this is how the whole course is outlined, and I'm super excited to start this course with you. But just one prerequisite, that is, you should be a little decent with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because we will be using these three things a lot, right? Because React is a JavaScript framework, so you must know JavaScript, and we'll be building UI, so you must know HTML and CSS, right? That is going to be just one prerequisite for this course. And yes, then we're good to go. All right, so I'm super excited to start this course with you, and yes, see you on the next lecture. Bye.